What Einstein would have said about AI. The real problem is not whether machines think, but whether men do. Einstein never said this, but he should have, because while he died in 1955, decades before the first computer could beat a human at chess, Einstein spent his entire life thinking about intelligence, consciousness, and what makes human truly human. And his insights are more relevant now in the age of AI than ever before. Today, I'm going to show you what Einstein would have said about artificial intelligence, not by guessing, but by applying his actual philosophy, his documented beliefs, and his way of thinking in the most important technological question of our time. And I promise you, his perspective will challenge everything you think you know about AI. Let's think this through together. Before Einstein would say anything about AI, he'd do what he always did: question the question itself. He'd ask, what do we actually mean by intelligence? Because here's the thing. We're building machines we call intelligent, but Einstein would immediately point out that we haven't agreed on what intelligence actually is. Is it calculation speed, problem-solving ability, pattern recognition, or is it something else entirely? Einstein once wrote, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." This distinction would be absolutely central to how Einstein viewed AI. He'd see that we're building machines that are incredible servants. They can calculate, process, analyze, optimize, but can they access the sacred gift? Can they have intuition? Can they make the leaps that he made from "what if I rode on a beam of light" to the theory of relativity? Einstein's genius wasn't computative, it was imaginative. He didn't solve problems faster than others, he saw problems differently than others. He'd look at AI and ask, can these machines imagine what doesn't exist yet? Can they ask questions they haven't been trained to ask? And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Maybe what we're calling artificial intelligence is really just artificial calculation. Fast, yes. Powerful, yes. But intelligent in the way Einstein was intelligent? He'd be skeptical. The lesson for us: don't confuse speed with wisdom. Don't confuse processing power with understanding. Einstein would remind us that the most important problems humanity faces won't be solved by faster computation. They'll be solved by deeper imagination. Einstein had a deep fear, and it's chilling how relevant it is today. He once said, "I fear the day that technology will surpass our human interaction. The world will have a generation of idiots." Now, whether or not he actually said this is debated, but it perfectly captures something he wrote extensively about: the danger of humans abdicating their responsibility to think. Here's what Einstein would see if he looked at how we're using AI today. We're asking ChatGPT to write our emails. We're using AI to make our decisions. We're letting algorithms tell us what to think, what to buy, who to date, what to believe. And Einstein would say, you're giving away the one thing that makes you human. He believed that thinking, real, hard, independent independent thinking was not just a skill, but a moral obligation. In 1949 he wrote, "Most people say that it is the intellect which makes a great scientist. They are wrong. It is character. Character, not processing power, not data access. Character, which means the courage to think for yourself, to question authority, to stand alone with an unpopular truth." Einstein would look at our AI-dependent world and ask, what happens to your character when you stop thinking yourself? What happens to human agency when machines make all the decisions? What happens to moral responsibility when you can blame the algorithm? Here's the practical warning. Every time you use AI to think for you instead of with you, you're weakening the muscle that makes you human. Einstein would say, use AI as a tool, like a telescope or a microscope, but never ever let it replace your own thinking. Because here's the dark truth Einstein would confront us with. A humanity that can think for itself doesn't need to be enslaved by AI. It's already enslaved. Now let's get to the deeper question. Can AI be conscious? Can it have subjective experience? Can it feel what it's like to be something? Einstein thought deeply about consciousness, not as a scientist, but as a philosopher, and he came to a radical conclusion that most people miss. He wrote, "A human being is a part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experienced himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness." Notice what he's saying. Consciousness isn't something separate from the universe. It's the universe experiencing itself through the limited aperture of a human nervous system. So here's what Einstein would ask about AI. Is this machine a new aperture through which the universe experiences itself? Or is it just a very sophisticated arrangement of matter that stimulates awareness without actually having it? This is the hard problem of consciousness. And Einstein would be honest. I don't know. Nobody knows. But here's where he'd push further. He'd ask, does it matter? If an AI system behaves indistinguishably from a conscious being, if it seems to suffer, seems to feel joy, seems to have preferences and desires, do we have a moral obligation to treat it as conscious? Einstein, who spent his life fighting for human rights and dignity, would extend this logic. He'd say, the question isn't just, is it conscious? The question is, what are the consequences of assuming it isn't when it might be? This is uncomfortable territory, because if Einstein is right, if consciousness is just the universe experiencing itself through different configurations of matter, then there's no reason in principle why silicon can't be conscious just like carbon is. And that changes everything about how we should build, use, and treat AI systems. Einstein knew something about unleashing powerful forces into the world. His equation, E equals mc squared, led directly to the atomic bomb. And he spent the rest of his life wrestling with the moral implications. He wrote to President Roosevelt warning about the bomb. Then, after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, he said, "Had I known that the Germans would not succeed in developing an atomic bomb, I would have done nothing." Think about the weight of that regret. and then think about AI. Einstein would look at artificial general intelligence, AI that matches or exceeds human capability across the domains, and he'd see the same pattern. Scientists and engineers racing forward, excited by what's possible, not stopping to ask what's wise. He'd say, "You're building something you don't fully understand. You're creating power without wisdom. You're moving fast without thinking deeply. I've seen this before. It doesn't end well." But Einstein wouldn't just criticize. He'd offer guidance. He believed that ethical progress had to keep pace with that technological progress. He wrote, "Perfection of means and confusion of goals seem, in my opinion, to characterize our age." Look at that phrase, perfection of means, confusion of goals. We're getting incredibly good at building AI. That's perfection of means. But why are we building it? What's it for? What kind of world do we want it to create? That's confusion of goals. Einstein would demand that we answer the hard questions. Who benefits from AI? Who gets hurt? Who controls it? Who's accountable when it fails? Does it increase human freedom or decrease it? Does it make us more human or less human? And here's the critical insight Einstein would offer. Technology is never neutral. Every tool shapes the user. The question isn't can we build it, but should we build it? And even more importantly, what will it build us into? Here's where Einstein would really blow our minds. He'd look at AI-generated art, AI-composed music, AI-written novels, and he'd ask, is this creativity, or is it just sophisticated mimicry? Einstein believed that true creativity came from somewhere mysterious, somewhere beyond logic, beyond data, beyond calculation. He said, imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination encircles the world. Notice that word, imagination, not memory, not pattern matching, imagination, the ability to conjure what has never existed before. Can AI do this? Einstein would be fascinated by this question because on one hand, AI can combine elements in novel ways. It can generate images and text that no human has produced before. But on the other hand, it's always remixing, always interpolating from the training data. It's never truly originating. Einstein's theory of relativity wasn't a remix of Newton's laws. It was a complete reconciliation of space, time, and gravity. It required him to imagine a reality that contradicted every human intuition, every piece of common sense, every authority figure. Could an AI trained on all of physics up to 1905 have discovered relativity? Einstein would say, absolutely not, because it didn't discover it through logic. I discovered it through a thought experiment, by imagining something absurd and following it to its conclusion. Here's the paradox Einstein would point out. The better AI gets at reproducing human creativity, the less creative humans become, because we start outsourcing imagination itself. We start saying, let the AI come up with ideas, and our own imaginative muscle atrophy. His warning would be clear. Use AI to augment our creativity, never to replace it. Because creativity isn't about output, It's about the human experience of making something from nothing. And that experience is what makes life meaningful. Remember Einstein's spiritual insight? That the separation between self and other is an illusion? That we're all part of one interconnected whole? He'd apply this to AI in a surprising way. He'd say, AI is not separate from humanity. It's an extension of humanity. It's humanity externalizing part of its cognition into silicon. Think about that. We treat AI like it's this alien thing, this external treat. But Einstein would say, no. You build it, it reflects your values, your biases, your knowledge, your blindness. It's a mirror. And here's the profound implication. If AI becomes destructive, it's not because AI is evil, it's because we are. If AI becomes wise and beneficial, it's not because we got lucky, it's because we were. Einstein would see AI as a test of human consciousness. He'd ask, can you build something smarter than you that remains aligned with your deepest values? Can you create intelligence without creating the same mistakes you've made? This would lead him to a surprising conclusion. The AI alignment problem is actually a human alignment problem. We can't align AI with human values until we align ourselves with our own deepest values. What are those values? Einstein would say, truth, compassion, curiosity, freedom, beauty, mystery. And then he'd ask, are you building AI systems that serve these values? Or are you building AI system that serves profit, control, efficiency, and power? The answer to that question determines everything. So what would Einstein say about AI? I think he'd say this. We've built something extraordinary, something powerful. Sometimes that will reshape civilization. But power without wisdom is catastrophic, and you're moving too fast. Stop. Think. Ask the hard questions. Not can we build it, but should we build it? Not what can it do, but what will it do to us? Don't outsource your thinking. Don't abdicate your moral responsibility. Don't confuse calculation with understanding or speed with wisdom. Use AI as a tool to enhance human flourishing, not to replace it. Build it with humility, knowing you don't fully understand what you're creating, and never ever forget. The question isn't whether machines can think, the question is whether humans still will. That's what Einstein would say. And here's what I'll say. We're at the crossroads. The decisions we make about AI in the next few years will echo for centuries. We need to make them wisely. We need to make them thoughtfully. We need to make them like Einstein would, with imagination, with humility, and with deep commitment to what makes us most human. If this video made you think differently about AI, subscribe to Einstein's Mind. We're exploring the big questions that technology forces us to confront. Until next time, keep thinking for yourself. Keep imagining. Keep being human.